Welcome back to Hope for Healing. I'm only going to be here briefly to introduce our moderator for this conversation. This is the Women's Empowerment Panel, and it's being led by Akasha Rosewaters. And I reckon that you guys are going to talk about some very beautiful subjects, and I'm excited to listen in. And without any further ado, Akasha, it's your call.
Thank you, Nathan, and welcome to Hope for Healing. This is Hope for Women, a conversation for women to discover their confidence and courage to trust their own innate wisdom and empower their voice, unleashing unlimitless potential and making a difference in the world. I'm Akasha Rosewaters. As Nathan just said, I am the creator of the Inner Fit Method. And now, as we start this panel discussion, we're going to begin with a short video to introduce Hope for Healing for Women. Women, the hearts and souls of our humanity, mothers to us all, sisters and wives. Today's working woman is responsible for maintaining a house, a job, and a family. She's expected to perform to perfection while balancing it all. She works harder than ever, yet has to prove herself more than her male counterpart for professional advancement and recognition for her accomplishments. With 2020 catalyzing so much transformation, can this be our decade for change? Women, the next wave of our movement has arrived. We are ready to solidify our role as leaders in this new era and to secure equality and fairness for future generations, with mutual respect between men and women. A time when all people are empowered with equal rights to opportunity. Join us for the most revolutionary women's platform of its kind, a movement to embolden the courageous hearts of women worldwide, a launchpad for women to achieve greatness in business, the arts, relationships, and all areas of life. This is Hope for Women. Go to joinhopenow.com to connect with your circle. So that was our video, Hope for Women, Healing Women. So welcome, Gabby, Chanel, and Claudia. It is an honor to be here with you today and to hold a space for you all to speak with your unique voices, sharing what it is you need to share with the world. Our first question is, what is your background and how did you get involved in the work that you do?
Such a great question. So first, thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor to be with this gorgeous group of stunning powerhouse women. I started as I think most women, since I was a kid, not since I was a kid, but since young, I tried to be perfect, right? And trying to be what everyone expected of me, and really build a life. And from a very young age, I thought that I would get love if I was a top performer. So I became a top performer, right? So I did everything right. I did my master's, in finances, started working very young, grew super fast. By the time I was 25, I had founded different companies. I was part of boards of nonprofits. I was part of the EO, which is an entrepreneur organization. I have the awards, the masters, all of it, right? So I really became that. Two of my companies had achieved, by the time I was 28, more than $1 million in revenue. So I had this beautiful life, right? That I was extremely proud of, and doing what I thought was expected of me. And then when I was 28, I failed, my main business failed. And it was so devastating. We had 40 employees, was such a huge failure. I don't believe really in failures, but it was a hard, really one of the hardest things that I ever gone through. And I had to go and face my biggest fear. Who would I be now that I was not a top performer, that had I failed so big, I wouldn't be loved anymore, right? I wouldn't be loved with all the accomplishments that I had. So when the business started failing, not only the business failed, but my identity started to crumble, who I was for myself, right? This top performer, doing everything right, perfect woman, have it all together. Like I didn't have it all together anymore. And I truly believe that everything happens for us. And like Steve Jobs, we can only connect the dots looking back. And I'm so grateful for that to have happened. I wouldn't be where I am now, impacting so many people, without that. But it was really the start of me going into a journey of discovering who I really was without connections, without money, without expertise. Because funny enough, like when I failed the business, I had the opportunity to move to the US. So I started here, like in debt, not knowing anyone, in a language that was not my own, right? Like speaking English in a different culture. And the only thing that I was an expert at, which was the financial market that I worked 11 years, I felt so heartbreak that I didn't want to do it anymore. So who was I, like without anything? And like is starting again, right? Who was I if I was not a performer? And that was the beginning of my journey to own my own voice, to own who I was. Then I also discovered that the first person that really abandoned my truest self was me. And by trying to be what everyone expected me to be. So that journey allowed me to do what I do now, which is I Unleash Goddess, to build an aligned business by bottling their magic and transforming that into a high ticket online business. So having gone through that, all this journey, I have like finally found another business and making a difference for women. But I was still hiding in my spiritual closet, right? So I was this business, is still doing business like as a man in a very masculine way. And at night I would be doing rituals and I would do like spirituality, and I have done so much work on that, but that wouldn't show up in my social media and my presence. So that is my mission now. And now that I've owned all parts of me, that, you know, like I show that I own that I'm a light worker, that we can change the world by making money and making meaning at the same time. My mission is to make sure that I unleash and empower as many women as possible to own who we are, own the spotlight, own our darkness and light, and especially own our feminine divinity, and rise. So rise together.
I hear that you over-identified with success, and you thought that that's who you were, and that's who you had to be. And then there came a time where that didn't work any longer. And that's when the failure happened and there was a breakdown. And through that breakdown and all that pain, you discovered who you actually are at your core, your essence. And then now you want to share that discovery, that journey, and that breakthrough with other women. So thank you for that. Chanel, what is your background and how did you get involved in this work?
Thank you, Akasha. First, I just want to say I'm really, really excited to be a part of this. One thing in Gabby sharing that I see is that we as women have so many similarities and yet so many differences. And when we come together in spaces like this and bring those together, it's such a beautiful thing. So also like Gabby, I actually had to find myself. My identity was lost in just being a wife and a mom, and that's who I wrapped myself up to be. I completely lost who I was. And a few years ago, my husband and I, were on the verge of divorce. And in that moment, I realized if I was not married to him, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I had to offer the world, my value, everything I had allowed to be tied up in my role as wife and mother. And so the journey began of finding myself again. I had completely lost all of my sensuality, all of my sexuality. It was all just about sweatpants and t-shirts and hair buns all day, and there's nothing wrong with that. But as women and as feminine, we love to feel beautiful. We love to feel desired. We love to just, it's part of that feminine, just putting that out into the world. And so as I began to find myself, as I began to share my story, I realized and was contacted by other women who had gone through the same thing or were going through the same thing or just didn't know how to find themselves again. And so thus I started just talking to women. I started coaching women. And at the time, what I thought was really just talking and encouraging them actually became me coaching them to help them find who they are, to help them find what they want to do with their life, whether it's start a business, even if they want to continue to be stay-at-home mothers for the rest of their life, helping them realize that they still have a separate identity outside of that. Helping them realize that they have a partnership with their spouse and their voice matters, their opinion matters, that they can still be sexual and sensual as women, even if it's just with their spouse, that they can express what they want from their partners sexually and sensually. And so that's actually how I got started. I'm actually also launching a beta program next month. It's going to be called She. And we're going to discuss all things that a lot of topics that are considered taboo for women to talk about, especially for mothers and wives to talk about. It's going to be all about supporting one another, encouraging one another, just having our best selves shine out into the world. One thing I love about the feminine energy is the feminine energy just nurtures and it builds and it creates. And women doing that together, I think, is going to be dynamic and powerful. And so I'm excited to leave my imprint on the world for that.
Beautiful, Chanel. Thank you so much for sharing all that. What I heard was that you were stuck in the identity of mom, and that was slowly killing your spark and killing your inner fire that you as a woman have. And so you realized that there was a way to access who you actually are and reignite your inner fire and then show up in your marriage so much more powerfully. And you did it so successfully that now you're helping other women to do the same. And yeah, I love that. That's beautiful.
Thank you, Akasha. Thank you.
Thank you. And Claudia, what is your background and how did you get into the work that you do?
So a little bit about me. I'm a mother of 2 boys and a stepmother of 2 more. So me and my husband collectively have 4 boys. And I'm a certified psychosynthesis coach, which is a form of transpersonal or spiritual psychology. And me and my husband are co-founders of Purple Ego Tribe, which is a coaching brand for individuals, couples, and groups. And additionally, since my passion is women empowerment, I'm a co-founder of Red Tent Goddess with my amazing partner, Jasleen Martin. And it's a women empowerment sisterhood, now international, and we're serving women from all over the world, helping them to find themselves, to connect to their divinity, to learn to live in sync with the cycles of nature, and just like the other women's out here, to really help women find their voice and live their purpose. And so my story started actually about 8 years ago. I experienced a sudden spiritual awakening that I was not expecting. At the time, I was actually an atheist, and that changed my whole world. And so I found myself, I was married at the time with my 2 boys. They were younger at that time. And so I found myself in a dysfunctional marriage and raising my children in a disharmonious environment. And so after the awakening, I realized, I said, wait a minute, I know I am one with the universe, and I know I have the power to create and the life that I want, and I know that I can generate and I can bring my life into alignment. And so during that time, I learned about the Red Tent. And so the Red Tent is a book that was published in 1996 that became a global movement in 98, and I learned about it early on January 13th. And it's a movement that is bringing back ancient practice and ancient wisdom from the times when women used to gather, usually around the new moon, which is around the time that women would menstruate, and they would come together and find the spaces for them to relax, to heal, to share stories, to teach each other. And also that is a time where the women psychic powers are more enhanced. So when I learned that, I just immediately struck my heart and I knew that was what I was meant to do. It was almost like a remembering from past lives about this. So after divorce, I decided to find out who I am, what's my purpose, why am I here, and find that alignment. And I became certified to run women's circles. In November of 2013, actually, I started running my first circle. And so I've been running women's circles ever since. It's been a beautiful journey. And then in 2020, after COVID hit, we decided to bring our circles from offline to online. And we created a membership-based sisterhood. And that has actually is growing. It's been amazing. We're growing a really strong, supportive sisterhood community of women who get an opportunity to learn about some of their connect to their divine feminine, connect about, just learn about more of who they are, and also learn to live in sync with the cycles of nature. And I can talk all day about that. It's really powerful practice. We cycle with the moon every month. We give the women an opportunity to teach a master class so that we're empowering them to learn and to share what they know. And it's just been such an incredible journey. And then in 2017, I met my twin flame, my beloved husband, and we got married in 2019. And of course, he also was holding space for men. So now we hold space for both women and men, and through different circles, gatherings, and different opportunities. So it's really been amazing to know that no matter where we have been in the past, right? And I think we all have a story. We can always find our truth and find our purpose and just live it powerfully.
Wow, thank you, Claudia. Beautiful, beautiful story. It sounds like you were divinely inspired. You didn't even choose it, it just began for you. Just the spirit started to work through you, and it led you to working with women and in a very special way, using ancient practices and sisterhood. And now you're co-creating with your husband, which is very magical. And it sounds like you're up to very, what is the word? Magical divine things. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So we have another question here, and I'm going to circle right back around to Gabby. And my question to you, Gabby, is what do you think the main challenges are when it comes to women who want to embody confidence and express themselves fully?
Well, such a beautiful question. And I'm so blown away by the women here in this call. And it's beautiful to see exactly how similar we are. And I'm just like blown away that like the more that we own the goddesses that we are, we start attracting more goddesses into our lives. So it's so beautiful. And I think the main thing that is stopping women to own their divinity and own who they are is that most of us women, we have been trying to make it in the men's world by being more masculine, right? And I see that for myself, that I have tried, and I've been, although I look very feminine, I've always been trying to be very masculine. And especially because I was always like, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 23. So, I've always been more towards business and doing business like as men. But not only in business, I feel like even in relationships, we have been in search of our own voice and unleashing our power. We have tried to be the only power that we knew what it was, right? Like, because we didn't have too many strong women in their own feminine power. So what we saw was more the men power, which is beautiful and divine too. And I think we lost ourselves trying to be powerful, have our voice, and, have our rights, but going into the masculine. And for me, like similar to Claudia, it was when I was a little kid, I was super drawn to crystals, and my whole family was not into that. So I don't even know. I was always drawn to like magic and, you know, like tarot when I didn't even know what it was. And then I hide it, and, you know, I put it to the side, and it was like, no, let's do it. Like, let's struggle. Like, let's, you know, like hustle and work like 10 hours, 20 hours. Who cares about cycles? Like Claudia is saying, like, who cares that I have like different hormones, you know, like it's just doing and working, and at the same time trying to be the perfect wife, the perfect daughter, the perfect everything, right? Trying to be perfect in all senses, try to do it all. But trying to do it all in, I believe, in a very masculine way, not honoring our cycles, not honoring our magic, not honoring rituals, and not honoring sisterhood. And I saw for myself how I lost that sparkle. Actually, how I tried to tame my fire, my womanhood, my magic. Even, you know, like being a light worker. And, you know, for me was, I started this journey in 2010 with Kabbalah, was my first awakening, and then Vipassana, and then plant medicines, and then there's so much. And now, like the goddesses, Isis, and, you know, like Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, like the more, and I think that is at the source of me, and I see so many women, we try to like really tone it down, our light, our voices, our divinity, like that we are all goddesses, that we are priestess, that we are witches, that we are that there is so much beauty and power in becoming who we truly are, the goddess within. And for me, that was like, I see still that we women, we are trying to make it in a man's world by being more masculine, or more that power that is more force than power. And it has been a beautiful journey of me owning again my full divinity and everything, right? Like my beauty in the world, beauty in everything that I do, beauty in my business, rediscovering what is to be a successful business owner as a woman, bringing all this woman part to us, honoring our cycles, honoring rituals, having power women, because for so long we haven't honor women around us, right? I personally, I was always surrounded by men. I worked so many years in the financial world, which is also like more masculine. And now I have the most amazing sisterhood. I'm the founder of Own the Spotlight movement, which is all about us owning our light as women. And one thing just that is super important to say is, it's not about like taking out the masculine. We all have the masculine and feminine inside of us. So it's not that masculine is bad in any way. It's just that for so long we have suppressed the divine feminine power. And I think that is the main thing that is stopping us women to own our voice and our power.
Right. Thank you for that. I hear you saying that we as women have been thinking success has to be a masculine endeavor, when in actuality, there's a way to do it in a feminine way. And tapping into that femininity gives us access to magic and our own divinity, and magic that's available to us. And we don't have to push so hard. We don't have to do. We actually can just relax and flow and allow that spirit to move us, to guide us. So it doesn't have to be so much pressure. And I think it's beautiful that that's what you teach. Thank you.
And it's so beautiful what you just said. Like now my mornings, I don't work in my mornings. My mornings are all rituals. I do, I meditate, I talk with the goddesses, with the ascended masters. So like my mornings are my time that I honor myself. And then afternoons is where I work. And before that, I wouldn't even think that was possible. And beside, like, of course, I speak more towards business, but it's everything in life. Like us owning our feminine power in how we dress, how we talk, how we are with men, in our relationships with other women, with men. That is where our voice is like, our voice is not outside, it's like inside of us. Everything we need is inside of us. And when we tap into our magic, and you said it beautiful, the magic inside of us, and the divine feminine power that we all have, the goddess that we are, and we own it, unapologetic. That's where magic happens in all areas of our lives.
Yeah, I see you're very passionate about that, teaching that. That's beautiful. Thank you. We're going to move on to Chanel. I want to ask you the same question. What do you think are the main challenges for women when it comes to them embodying their confidence and expressing themselves fully?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And Gabby said so much like good stuff. One of the things I love that she said is women embracing our cycles. I love that. I think Claudia said that too, because growing up, I was taught that a cycle is it's a bad thing that comes every month. It's just something you have to suffer through. And it wasn't seen as anything good. And actually the hormones that come with it were seen as making you just crazy. And, I know we've all heard jokes from men we've been with before, well, it must be that time of the month. But I love, as I've gotten older and as I found myself like seeing that as such a beautiful, unique thing that feminine gets to experience. I have 2 little girls now, and I have one who's getting at that age where that is going to start happening for her. And so it's been an amazing experience, me getting the opportunity to teach her how to be with her emotions and don't feel bad about them. Just let's sit with this for a moment. Let's experience this. Let's accept the fact that your body's changing. And so I love that. One of the things I think about when I think of women not being able to, in the past, being able to tap into our divine feminine, is I think that we've been taught for so long that feminine is weak, that feminine is bad. And especially, if you grow up, you think about across different cultures too, and different societies, growing up African-American, in an African-American home, a very religious African-American home, we were not allowed to express sexuality. We were taught that there were certain things that may feel natural to you and that was bad. And so being taught that things as a woman, as a female, that feel natural to me or come natural to me, or expressing my emotion through crying or even through just anger and having this wide range of emotions, and being taught that you need to calm that down and that's considered weak. Like another thing that Gabby said was we've been taught to operate in this masculine environment. And I know me, when I'm off balance and I'm operating in a space that's too masculine, I feel tired. I feel heavy. I feel angry because it's not naturally something that I operate in. And so I think that women have been told that just who they are is less than, is second class, is weak, that you can't you can't be successful and still be feminine, that you have to operate in this masculine energy. Even as another thing Gabby said that I love is getting up in the morning. We're taught that in our society, when you get up in the morning, you should immediately start and go be what's considered productive. And productive is going to have a different definition for everyone. And I've learned that productivity for me and my girls, because I do homeschool, productivity for us in the morning is taking our time, is allowing ourselves to get up. Maybe we'll read for a few hours. Maybe we'll go take a walk for a little bit. But we have to really just align ourselves with the day and be in a space of peace and a space of calm. And then when that afternoon comes, then we get into more of a, masculine working, doing type of environment. And that has taken time to get to that point of realizing like, this is who I am. And it's okay that I'm different than my husband. My husband is very masculine. So he is very much a doer. He gets up and he gets right to it. And I would try to mimic that because I felt like, well, if I do it my way, then that means there's something wrong with me. I've been taught that you should get up in the day and you should get right to it. And that doesn't feel natural to me. And I think that women have been taught that what feels natural to us has been a negative, instead of learning that that masculine and feminine balance is what makes a beautiful thing. You can have both of them together.
Wow, thank you, Chanel, for that. That was intense. That's intense. I heard you say that what the challenges that we face as women has to do with the challenges or the constructs that society has put into place, and this is stretches across all different cultures within our society, that we have a masculine shaped world, a masculine framework that we as women have to learn how to navigate. I also heard that you had your own pain, and that points to the pain that other women may feel in their own lives around who they are and how to embody themselves and their sensuality and their sexuality and their cycle, and how to lean into that pain and lean into that shame, because the only way out is through. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
So, wow. And let's move on to Claudia. I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you think are the main challenges that women face when wanting to embody confidence and express themselves fully?
Prior to 6,000 years ago, it wasn't the case. So it was actually a matriarchy that was in place. And so it was the goddess, the women were revered as sacred. The goddess was revered. Women were treated as the healers that we really are. Women were fully connected with their sexuality, with their sensuality, and how powerful that is. And also, I love that Chanel brought it up about the our moon cycles and our bleed, right? How now our society nowadays looks at it as something negative, and we're trying to avoid and maybe taking some shots so we don't actually get our period. Meanwhile, our period is one of the most powerful things that we women have. And blood rituals, which actually we're about to get into at our group, the Red Tent Goddess, was revered as one of the most sacred substances in the world. But what happened is the man wanted to, decided to take over, and they wanted to dominate because women were very powerful. And women back then used to hold positions, high positions, judges, like different positions. So it was definitely a more nurturing, inclusive society. And then when the patriarchy started taking over, and not only taking powers away, but abusing women, they've spent 6,000 years of the suffering and repression of the feminine. And so that is what we're experiencing right now. Women have forgotten who they are. They've forgotten who their power, the infinite power that we are. And so now there's a movement, a emerging movement of the feminine, right, that is rising in the world, because the earth is screaming. We've been taking all of the earth resources without any regard for giving it back. And so we are completely imbalanced. And I love what Gabby said. Women then, since our power was taken away, then they figure, okay, so then we need to be like men, right? And we need to operate like men so that we can be equals like them, right? And that's kind of what emerged in the 60s with the women movement. But that was not balanced either. So right now we're in a point where the earth is asking for our support. Is one thing is like the energies are being rebalanced, and then women are remembering who they are and remembering their power, and also men are learning how to honor their feminine side. Just like Gabby said, we have both feminine and a masculine side. So men have also been learning, and that's also part of the mission. And that's the mission that my husband is also taking on with the men. Teach them how to honor the feminine within themselves, how to honor their emotions, how to be nurturing, caring, right? It's not just about creating and taking and producing, right? We've become this mass production society that is just creating and taking and not giving back. So in this movement right now as women, and that is also our mission at the Red Tent, to help women to reconnect to those powers, reconnect to the higher powers, to the goddesses, just like Gabby said, I love that, through different rituals that you can do. That is where the empowerment and the confidence will be regained for women. But we must understand it's been a long journey, and there's been a lot of abuse coming from both sides. And so, the invitation during these times is to be compassionate with each other, and also through sisterhoods, be able to support each other and empower and remember each other, because it's within us. It's within each of us, and that is a powerful thing, and just it's very exciting to be right now alive in the world right now. And even though there's still a lot that needs to be shifted, movements like this that are bringing voices together to just remind women of who they are.
Thank you, Claudia, for that. I heard you dive deeper into the topic of trauma and thousands of years of trauma that women are now beginning to heal and will continue to heal. And that we get to be gentle with ourselves and each other. And I heard you say that the abuse has come from both ends. So both self-inflicted, woman to woman, and also from the masculine to the feminine. And the patriarchal society has been the framework in which that abuse has been perpetuated. So I'm going to ask you, actually, Claudia, the next question, which is, how can a woman begin to embody confidence, and what are some small steps that she can take to discover her purpose and step into her power?
Believing that you are worthy, believing that you are powerful, believing that you have everything that you need already to have the life that you want. And then another step, finding community, finding sisterhood. That is just such a powerful thing. We women, we're meant to collaborate. This is our nature, to collaborate and work together, work with each other. I cannot begin to tell you the miracles that keep happening at the sisterhood, with all the women supporting each other. Somebody needs something, boom, everybody jumps in and supports. Somebody needs support with their services, boom, we're all jumping. It's just been miraculous witnessing the power of sisterhood. And then also honoring our cycles, right? Our cycle mirrors the cycle of the moon, right? A 28-day for the most part, it's like a 28 to 35 day for most women, but it mirrors the cycle of the moon. So tuning into nature, right? This is why we're kind of going back to ancient practices, that we're connected to nature, that we're connected to spirit, and just tuning into that. Like the new moon is a time to plant the seeds for what's to come for the new month. So giving yourself the time to go within and to not only, our bleed is not only a physical release, it's also an opportunity for us to release our emotions. From the last month, we have a built-in system that men do not have. And unfortunately, we haven't been taught this. And so, just really learning how our bodies work, tuning into the moon, right? The full moon is when the moon is at its brightest. It's a time you can release anything that may be there for you. And it's also a time of manifestation. And so as we tune in, we release. Essentially, that's what's created. We release what no longer serves us. So it serves as a transformation. It's like we have the power to die every month, let go of what doesn't serve us, and then begin anew. Plant new seeds, take new actions, and then see new seeds of manifestation. So these are some of the tools that have supported me tremendously, and I can see them supporting others tremendously. So that would be my message to other women. Find a group, a community of women that you can be supported with. Give yourself the time to meditate, to go within. Just trust life. Trust that life is for you. Trust that anything that you want can have, and ask, right? Ask and you shall receive. through journaling. You can ask if you need support. You can just pray, send prayers. There are just numerous ways where women can reconnect to that power of within themselves, and then they can again create the life that they know and they deserve, and then be that healing space for their masculine, right? Because we've seen a distortion with women and their men as well, and there's been abuse on both sides. So as we connect to our nature, to our divine nature, we honor our cycles, we honor ourselves, we deepen our self-love practice, we deepen our intuition, right? We then activate those nurturing feminine qualities. We become more nurturing, more compassionate, more patient with our children, with our men, and then we're teaching them how to do it. So then they become more patient because they're seeking love just like we are. And so, we give ourselves that space. Women are the soil. Women are the soil for our families, for our community. And so as we do that and we claim that in a feminine way, we don't have to do it the masculine way anymore, right? We just have to sit. We have to give ourselves that opportunity to tune in and then be that loving space for the people around us, and then just watch the magic that unfolds in your life.
Thank you, Claudia. I hear that finding community is very important for women at this time, and planting seeds of possibility and creativity in a feminine way and going within and tapping into her true nature will help a woman take just some baby steps for the day. And we're going to move on to Chanel. Chanel, I'm going to ask you the same question. How can a woman begin to embody confidence, and what are some small steps she can take to discover her purpose and step into her power?
So, thanks, Akasha. Oh man, Claudia, you said so many good things. I'm over here like feeling like I'm going to church just listening to you talk, but definitely, I highly agree with finding a community of women who can build you up and embrace you. And you find so much out about yourself by being around other like-minded women and women who are even different than you, who share different opinions, different viewpoints. Like I said earlier, we're all different, but we're all the same too. And there are so many qualities that I learned about myself from being around other women. There were qualities that I saw in them, which I thought was just magnificent and beautiful. And I said, I want that quality. I want to learn that quality. Teach me, how did you become this way? How did you, teach me what you know. So that definitely helps build your confidence. Also, I would say, love yourself. Love yourself unconditionally. And that does take a lot of intentionality and a lot of time. When you love yourself unconditionally, you love everything about you. Time goes on, we're going to age. We may have babies, so our bodies are going to change. Our viewpoints and opinions grow as we grow. And you just have to learn to love everything about yourself. Every wrinkle, every dot, every mole, every freckle, every gray hair, every personality trait, every emotion, just love it about yourself. And then when you genuinely learn to love yourself, you genuinely learn to put that out into the world. That energy just spreads out around you. And like Claudia said, we do actually become better mothers, better wives, better sisters, better workers, better friends when we embody that. When we embody that which we wish the world had, or that we wish we had been given, it actually makes us better. Another thing I would say is to take time for yourself. One thing that I have learned is I used to put myself on the back burner because it was natural for me. I over-nurtured. And so I over-nurtured everyone else, and I didn't nurture myself at all. And so taking time to yourself helps you get to know yourself. When you can get into that meditation state, whether you do yoga, whether you take a walk by yourself, whether you go sit in the car in your driveway and just turn on the music that you want to listen to, you learn who you are. You can hear your voice when there's quiet. Sometimes with all the noise around us, it's really hard to hear our own voice. And so it really does help to learn how to hear your own voice. And the last point I would make is learn how to use your voice. Speak up. You know what? I was a non-conflict person for most of my life. I was very passive aggressive. I wouldn't say anything because I didn't want to rock the boat. And so many of my needs and my desires went unmet just because I wouldn't speak up. And understanding that you speaking up and using your voice doesn't mean that it has to always have the other person being left in the most positive manner, but they will respect you, they will love you, and you will gain that confidence in knowing how to hear your voice and respect your voice by actually using your voice.
Wow. Thank you. I hope people are taking notes because that was really good advice, really good steps that someone could take today. And I heard love yourself, put yourself around women that inspire you, even if they're different from you. I heard nurture yourself and use your voice. And the more you use your voice, the more comfortable you'll get using it. So it takes being a little bit uncomfortable at first. And just FYI, we're going to go a little bit past 2 p.m. so we have enough time for the final question. But before that, I'm going to move to Gabby and asking you the same question. How can a woman begin to embody confidence, and what are some small steps she can take today to discover her purpose and step into her power?
Wow. Oh my God. Chanel, Claudia, wow, so much that you already gave us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's so beautiful, everything that you said. And, I think one thing that Chanel said is self-love. I think that is the main one. And that is the one that I struggled the most for so long. Always putting other people first, and especially when you start going into this like giving back and you want to make a difference in the world and impact, and then you start to give. I saw myself with my clients. I would overgive all the time and I would be exhausted at the end of the day. So I think the first step is really self-love, and inside of self-love is loving especially the parts of you that you don't want to love the parts of you that you want to hide, love the parts of you that you are embarrassed, love the parts of you that you cannot stand. I know for me personally, so one of the things that I couldn't stand was me being jealous. I was like, I can't, like I need to be more evolved than that. I cannot have and feel jealous at any time ever. And so it's like looking at those parts of us. And I say something, imagine that you have your kid, or you see a little kid and they make a mess in your whole house, and your kitchen is all a mess. Maybe at the first look, you will be a little like, oh my God. But then normally you will laugh at it and you will like play with that little kid. And we don't do that with ourselves. Most of us, think about the worst boss you ever had in your life. Normally we are 100 times worse. Like we are our worst critics. We say things to ourselves that we wouldn't say to anyone in the world. And I think that is, if all women could start by loving the parts of them that they don't like, that they're embarrassed. And it takes something. I'm not going to say that it's easy. At least for me, it was not. But the more that I allowed myself to be jealous, to, feel embarrassed, or to love the parts of me, like I would love a little kid and give myself love and honor all those parts too, because it's the same thing with ego. I see so much in this, like now in the world, like we shouldn't we should go past our ego. I don't believe that. I believe our ego is a huge part of us. Our darkness is part of us. We're not here to be all light. I truly believe that we are here to be humans, to have the best of both worlds, like heaven and earth, really to own, like allow space for our darkness, and at the same time, not allow it to drive us, right? But so that's the first thing, self-love, loving our darkness. And then the second part, besides owning our darkness, which is hard, I think the hardest part for women is to own our light. We most women, we are terrified of outshining people. We are less, we dress less than we want. We hide. And I believe that it's time for us to own everything that we are, own our beauty. Like, you putting your best always. And it doesn't mean like your best could be like a white t-shirt. It's not really about that, but it's about bringing the most stunning version of you to the world, in and out. And so it's owning, and I say owning the spotlight, right? But it's really like owning all the light that you have, and loving that, that you are killing at something, loving your gifts and owning it and saying, I am amazing at this. And then after, like it's all together. It's not linear with women, right? But when we can truly own our darkness and love it, own our light and love it, then I believe is really for us to remember like what we are here to do, and then share that with the world. I truly believe there's something that only you can do in the world. There's no one else in the world that can do the thing that only you can do. And if you're not doing that, you're robbing us. So I think that is another step, and there is no place to get, is the journey of you discovering your purpose. I don't think your purpose is you discover and then you go do it. I think it's part of discovering this. The journey is the beauty part of it. It's like, what is my purpose? What I love to do? What are my gifts? And keep remembering and integrating, and sharing with the world.
You are speaking my language, Gabby. I love everything that you said. Thank you. I heard that we have to, as women, love the parts of ourselves that is not so easy to love, and at the same time, love the parts of ourselves that may outshine someone or may cause someone else to be uncomfortable, and tapping into beauty in ourselves internally and externally, which allows us to feel into and be a part of the beauty of life. So it's aesthetics, but it's not always about aesthetics. It's also about being authentic. And I love everything that you said. Thank you. So I'm going to ask you, what possibility would you like to see come to fruition for women during your lifetime?
Oh my God. I really got emotional now. This, we are this, that is happening exactly at this moment. You, Akasha, Chanel, Claudia, bringing out, we are using our voice. We are speaking our truth. We are being unapologetic ourselves, all sides of us, right? With our mistakes, with everything, we are being the goddess that we are. So the possibility that I would like to see in the world is for all women, owning the spotlight, owning the goddess that they are unapologetically, and using their gifts to transform the world.
So owning their gifts and being themselves unapologetically is what I heard.
Definitely. Owning all of us, owning the goddess that we are.
And let's move on to Chanel. What possibility would you like to see come to fruition for women during your lifetime?
Yeah. I'm going to agree with Gabby on that. I love this kind of a space. So I would love for all women to see all women have access to something like this. Access to this kind of support and this kind of empowerment and this kind of beauty. I think sometimes in the past, in history, women have been taught to be in competition with one another. And the reason I love spaces like this, it's because it's not like you have to stay in your lane. It's like, let's combine lanes. Let's support each other. Let's encourage one another. I want to see you be your best self. That makes me feel like I'm being my best to see you be your best. So really just having, I would love to see all women have just this kind of access to this kind of support, this kind of positivity, this kind of empowerment, the access to learn more about their feminine and how to embrace it.
Thank you, Chanel. So what I hear is that you would like to see women be more connected to things like this, where we can all co-create together, we can all support each other, we can all essentially mastermind the women's healing movement together. And Claudia, now I'm going to ask you the same question. What possibility would you like to see come to fruition for women during your lifetime?
Beautiful. Well, thank you. It's a great question. And to touch upon that, I'd love to share actually startling a statistic that I learned when I was putting together an event for International Women's Day on March 8th for this year. According to the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report of 2020, at the current rate of change, gender parity will not be attained for another 99.5 years. So it may not happen in my lifetime, but I would love to see that, right? As women step into their power, own their light. And I love what you shared, Gabby, about self-love and just owning who they are. And that we can bridge that gap, right? That we can really bring equality and balance in the world, that women and men are seen as equals. I want to see women working together, supporting their businesses, supporting their families or children. I want to see collaboration. I want to see inclusion. I want to see, support. I want to see nurturing. I want to see a world where both men and women and children are caring for the earth, are caring for the resources that we have, are caring for each other. And we're moving away from that just egotistic of just me, give me material, right? And just really tap into our spiritual nature and be able to work together and make sure that we can work to end hunger and poverty and everything. We have the resources. We just need to come together and align on that vision, and that would be a beautiful possibility to experience in my lifetime.
Okay, thank you, Claudia. So, what I heard is that you would like to see women come together with men and begin taking care of the planet. And I didn't quite understand the part you said that had to do with a specific year. Do you want to? I don't know if that was just me. Maybe you said
Well,
that.
there is right now at the current rate that we're at, gender parity. So
What is that?
gender equality. So
Oh, okay.
men and women, right?
Okay.
We have about 100-year gap. So it would take at the current rate with what we're doing right now, it's going to take us 100 years for women to bridge that gap. So I would love to see us working together so that we can actually bridge that gap sooner is possible.
Yes, of course. And I hear you saying that all possibilities all of the time. So there is a possibility that maybe we could fast track that growth and come to equality sooner than 100 years. That would be great. Thank you. And so thank you all for answering those questions. I'm going to invite Nathan back on this call.
That was amazing. So we're at the end of the women's panel, and I don't know about each of you if you experience how you experience yourselves, but the sharing came from such a rich, authentic, powerful, and loving place. I mean, this was for me the best panel yet, and I mean, I'm just riveted that there's a movement of women, and it's been going on for some time, but I'm just riveted that there's such a big stand in the world because of women taking their role in leadership. And it makes me feel a lot better about the future having been on this conversation. So thank each of you for being who you are and sharing the best parts of yourselves.